Hey, comic fans, Mr. Q Comics back with another stack of books to show off here. I've got some stuff here from a few different shops, probably three of my local shops over a couple different trips that I kind of pieced together. So just kind of compiled a nice stack, and let's get into it. First thing, we'll show off the dollar books. I usually like to cover those first. Um, One of my shops has kind of been steadily keeping out dollar books now. Most of my shops don't seem to have a lot of dollar books or quarter bins or anything like that, but this one of my regular shops just added them out in the past couple months, and they've kept them out. So I always like that. First thing I grabbed, Magic #1. This is from December 1983. I just like these Marvel miniseries. I have not read this one. I can't even recall if I have the full set, but anytime I see these, I grab them for a buck. Most of these Marvel miniseries like that, I will pick up if they are on the cheap. Obviously, Secret Wars, Punisher, Wolverine, obviously higher priced, but I just like the 80s stuff, and I will probably give this a read when I have the complete set. It's John Buscema on the cover and art, and Chris Claremont on the story. Now, this was kind of neat. I picked this up. I don't typically show off Quasar, but Quasar 32. It's a minor key, first appearance of Korath the Accuser. It's Greg Capullo on the cover and art. I don't know how early work this is for Greg Capullo, but I did pick that up when I was going through it. I didn't even realize he worked on this Quasar book. But the reason I grabbed it, this is issue 32, but right behind it, same book marked issue #1. I looked at it when I got home, just an error. I have no idea how many copies there are marked at #1, but I like any kind of weird, obscure errors like that. I don't think it's worth big money or anything, but definitely goes for like, I think 10, 15 bucks, maybe a little more. I didn't research it too much, but I just thought that was neat when I was flipping through the bins. I had no idea about this error, and they were just kind of back to back. So those were cool. Last dollar bin book. This is kind of funny. I've been seeing this book get hot. A lot of speculation with the Disney Plus series, movies, all that stuff. Always a ton of speculation. So one of these books that no one ever really seemed to care about that has gotten hot recently. Something I'm not willing to pay big money for. Never had an interest in it myself, but it was in the dollar bin. So Powerpack #1, first appearance of the Powerpack, Alex, Jack, Katie, and Julie. I really know nothing about the Powerpack. I remember seeing them in all kinds of ads in the 80s books, some crossover series, but I definitely never read any of their individual books here. And this is not in great shape. It's mid-grade, probably, very good fine. But, you know, dollar bin book, something that got hot. I wasn't going to leave it there. It's June Brigman on the cover and art, who I really was not familiar with her work. And it's Louis Simonson on the story, who obviously did a lot of work on a lot of great books for Marvel. And it was kind of interesting when I was doing some research on Louis Simonson. I don't know if it's accurate or not, but I read that she modeled for Bernie Wrightson for the cover of House of Secrets '92, the first appearance of Swamp Thing. I don't know if that's accurate. I can't remember if I read it on Wikipedia or not, but I thought that was an interesting tidbit while I was reading about her. So, all right, we got a couple more grab bag books to show off from one of my shops that I think I talked about in the past few videos. They had out like 100 grab bags, and it's just a few more cool books that I had gotten out of those. We got the Fantastic Four #1. This is the facsimile edition. I can't remember when this came out. I feel like it came out in 2018. But I like the facsimile covers for these the classic, Silver Age #1s. I like the fact that, it reprints the book exactly with all the ads and everything. So I think that's neat. I get a lot of the True Believers books, but I really like the facsimile editions for, the bigger books like Fantastic Four #1, X-Men #1. I think they're cool, so I'll pick up a couple when I find them. And this actually goes for like 10 bucks on eBay, which I do always find funny. Some of these reprints that go for pretty decent money too. I would figure that would just end up in the dollar bin. But anyways, okay, we got some Star Wars books. I never read a lot of the Dark Horse stuff, but these were in a grab bag, and it's a complete set. I thought they were really cool. I don't know anything about these, honestly. Star Wars Dark Force Rising, that's #1. #2, and I just thought that these are absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous covers. This is Matthew Laughley. They're painted covers. I was not familiar with him, but every one of these covers to me is beautiful. There's #3. It's got Terry Dodson on the interiors. I don't see a ton of Terry Dodson interior artwork, or I haven't seen it. Number 4, this was my favorite cover. I thought that was just unbelievable. Really cool stuff. Number 5. And number 6. Yeah, like I said, I haven't read this. I never read any of the Dark Horse stuff. I have no idea how this fits into like Star Wars mythology canon, whatever you want to call it. I have a feeling it doesn't actually count for any actual official Star Wars canon. I don't know, but I just thought the covers were absolutely beautiful. So, okay, let's get into some of the older books. This was just kind of a random buy. I had at one of my other shops that I go into a little less frequently. Spider-Woman number 5. This is from August of 1978. Dave Cockrum cover, Marv Wolfman story, and Carmine Infantino on the interiors. It's the first full appearance of Morgan Le Fay post Golden Age. I think she had a cameo in issue number 2. And I saw this book get hot, I can't remember, a couple months back. I guess she's supposed to appear as a character on the Hulu Runaways show in season 3. I don't have Hulu. I don't even know anything about the Runaways. It was just cheap. It was only like $5, and it's probably mid-grade, fine, very fine. So why not pick it up? I did read this one. It wasn't bad. It was definitely an interesting read. I can't remember this. The Hangman, I think, is the main villain in it, and it starts out with Spider-Woman tied up in a basement, and some really weird story where this guy is, rescuing women because they can't take care of themselves in the real world or something like that, and it kind of gets into this weird kind of tripped out. I don't know. She's wandering through the house trying to get out, and it turns out Morgan Le Fay is playing all these games on her, and seems like a cool villain. I know nothing about her. Golden Age character, first appeared in Black Knight number 1 from Atlas in May of '55. I don't know how many books she was in the Golden Age. It's kind of odd to me, or interesting to me rather, to see a character that old brought back in, 30 years later or however long it was. So it definitely seems like more of a Doctor Strange villain to me. I don't know if she ever appeared in Doctor Strange or not, but she's definitely kind of got the mystical stuff going on. So that was cool buy. Here we got some Fantastic Four, some Silver Age goodness. Annual number 4. This is in rough shape, but it was cheap. It was $5. It's probably good, very good. I am not leaving behind Silver Age Marvel for $5 when it's in decent shape. I haven't read it, but of course Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, November 1966. It's the first appearance of the Golden Age Human Torch in the Silver Age, origin of the Human Torch retold, and first appearance of Quasimodo. So for $5, I am all over that. Another grab bag book. I have multiple copies. This is Teen Titans number 44. This book has been pretty hot. This is, let's see, it's the first appearance of Nightwing, or Dick Grayson as Nightwing. Very cool George Perez cover and interiors, and a Marv Wolfman story. So I think Nightwing or Robin is to appear as Nightwing in season 2 of the Titans. I don't watch any of the DC shows either. I can't remember what network they're on. CW, WB, something like that. So I have a couple of better copies, but hey, you're not going to complain about pulling this in a grab bag. I haven't read it. I probably will go back and read some of this. I'm very curious about this guy over here. I have no idea who that character is, but something about him just reminds me of Lord of the Rings. I think it's those sideburns or something. It just reminds me of Frodo. I don't know what it is, but definitely a cool book for out of a $10 grab bag. All right, and now let's see. We got not all, but mostly some Silver Age stuff. So let's get into that. Fantastic Four, number 74. This cover, I think, is phenomenal. This is a key, the first appearance of the Punisher, not Frank Castle, but a servant of Galactus. This is, of course, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby. I love this cover. I don't think this is a hugely expensive book, but man, I think the colors on this are absolutely gorgeous. You got the Galactus and kind of the indigo silhouette, all the reds going on in the background. It's beautiful. I have a copy of it I got a while back. This one I think is a little better. This is a real nice, solid mid-grade in the fine range, and it was like $24. So A little bit more than I'd want to pay for a kind of minor key, but it's gorgeous, and I don't think you can go wrong with any Fantastic Four stuff. Any of this older Stan Lee stories, Kirby art, and this one, man, I think that cover is just so gorgeous. So psyched to have another copy of that. A little bit later stuff in the run, I got 86, which is of course awesome. Anything with Doctor Doom, so cool, just looming in the background. Just can't say enough about these Silver Age covers. Fantastic stuff. This is from May of '69. This one's a little bit better shape. Probably fine, very fine. Same thing. It was in the kind of $25 range. So I was not leaving it behind. I didn't have it. And it is just absolutely a thing of beauty. So very psyched to have those. And all right, I've been finding this book quite a bit. This has definitely been heating up. I think I picked this up before the confirmation that he'll appear in the New Gods movie, but this is Ryan of the New Gods #2. This is the second full and the first cover appearance of Darkseid. So I've been grabbing these over the past couple years. When I find them, I've probably come across 4 copies, and usually I can find them in the $10 to $15 range. This one's probably the best copy I've found. It's definitely really solid, probably in the very fine range. And this is a little more. This is like $35, but just based on the condition, I thought it was worth springing for. Of course, it's obviously Jack Kirby, the Fourth World. I haven't read any of the stuff. I definitely would like to go back and read it when I can piece some of these together. I was a little scary trying to read some of these key books, though, especially if you got them in good shape. I feel like I gotta buy a really nice one to not read, and then a real beat-up copy. Even coverless would be cool just to read it. I much prefer reading the floppies over the trades. Something about reading trades for these older books. The color's different. I don't know. I just like the smell of the paper. I like the newsprint. The colors, the art looks way better to me on the actual book than when it's been reprinted and it's all filled in. You know what I mean? When they do, like, if you read a '70s book as a reprint and the colors all completely filled in on bright white pages, I don't know. It just doesn't have the same appeal to me. I want to read the older book that smells like old paper with the dotted color work. It's just so much better to me. So definitely happy to have another copy of this. I think there's a couple other cameos, Deep Six and Slig in this as well, from April, May of 1971. So definitely happy to find another copy of that. I don't think I'm going to be finding those on the cheap anymore, but still glad to have it. All right, next one, going straight back to modern books. This is a very cool book. My wife got this for me for a Father's Day gift. This was actually an awesome gift. She's tried to get me books a couple times in the past, and obviously she's not a comic fan. She doesn't know what I have, so it's obviously tough to find something I don't have that I'm going to like, but she definitely managed to pull it off on this one. She works like craft shows. She does the craft business out of the house, and she does a lot of craft shows and market, farmers markets, things like that. And she was set up next to a guy who had this book, so she went ahead and grabbed it. Very cool. Carnage Mind Bomb #1. I had my hands on this like a year or two ago for like $10 in a local shop. I knew nothing about it, and because it was modern, I was like, I don't know, $10. And this book has gone crazy. I think, all the speculation with the absolute carnage and everything Donny Cates is doing with Venom, anything related to Venom and Carnage has just gone through the roof. And this book in high grade is crazy money, like well over $100, I think. So she actually paid pretty good money for this. I thought she got ripped off until I looked it up and saw what this is actually going for. So this is probably a mid-grade one. It's got all kinds of color loss on the back. This guy didn't really know anything about books. Of course, he like re-poly-bagged it and like with a laminating machine or something. And of course, he's calling it mint. It's mint. Like, no, it's not mint. It's a black back and there's all kinds of white specks. But still, awesome book to have. I wasn't going to go hunting this down and paying $100 for it. So super cool to get it as a gift. Very big surprise. So awesome book. Glad to have it. Haven't read it. I've wanted to read it, but I think they just came out with the True Believers of it, and I got to check if I actually got it or not, because I intended to get it for $1 so I could read that one instead of thumbing through the expensive copy. But very cool Father's Day gift. So Okay, last three books. I'm going to stick with kind of some more modern stuff. This is, quintessential 80s childhood for me. One of my favorite cartoons as a kid. I've wanted this book since the day I got back into collecting, but never willing to spend money on it. I don't come across it too often, and when I do, it's always on a wall or it's always pulled out. Everyone wants it. I think a lot of collectors are in the same range, growing up in the 80s and just a love of everything from their childhood. So it's G.I. Joe number 21, the silent issue. I think it's the first appearance of Storm Shadow as well. Of course, probably like many of you out there, Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes were my favorite characters from this cartoon. And this has to be, I think He-Man and G.I. Joe were the two cartoons and toy lines that were absolutely my favorite. I still have hundreds of my 80s G.I. Joe figures, and I spent hours and hours in my parents' yard hanging out my dad's garden with my action figures, setting up war scenes. So I finally found a good copy that was reasonable. Really, this is in really good shape. It's probably very fine, near mint. It is the third print, but it was only like 21 bucks, and that was kind of reasonable enough for me. And I've wanted it for so long that I finally said, you know what, I'm not leaving it behind. The third print still goes for good money raw. I think when you get into like graded 9.8s, the first print is leaps and bounds ahead in terms of value. But I just wanted really a sharp copy, so I am psyched to have it. It's a pretty interesting story. So it's Ed handing it on the cover and Larry Hama on the script in pencils. Obviously, it's the silent issue. There's no dialogue, but it's like Scarlet's been captured, and I think Snake Eyes is flying in to rescue her. But when you when you thumb through all the panels, he doesn't actually end up saving her. She ends up really just saving herself, and they escape together. I don't know. Maybe Snake Eyes acts as a diversion to assist so she can get out herself. But I did think it was funny, and I love the cover. I think it's a really cool cover. So super super psyched to have that. I don't have a ton of GI Joe. I will grab them when I find them cheap, but they can be pricey, especially the late issues, those low print runs. Same thing with Transformers. Those two series, man, for 80s books, I'm surprised how expensive they can be to piece together a run. So, all right, final two books. We're going to switch it up. Stay with Marvel Silver Age, but we'll do some X-Men. So, first one, X-Men number 40. This is a really nice copy. This is probably in the fine range. This is from January of 68. I guess it's the first Frankenstein's monster in X-Men and the origin of Cyclops. I was screwed up. For some reason, I thought it was the first appearance of Frankenstein's monster in Marvel Comics, but I don't think that's right. So it's George Tuska on the cover, Roy Thomas story, and Don Heck on the art. For the grade, solid mid-grade, it was only 30 bucks. I was surprised it was priced that low. It was kind of priced with, he had it in line with all his regular non-key X-Men issues. So X-Men definitely won. Spidey and X-Men always seem to be the highest priced Silver Age books from Marvel when I come across them. In my shops, with the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, if they're not keys, I seem to be able to find them in the $15 range and pretty reasonable grade on a regular basis. But the X-Men and Spidey stuff always seem to be more in the $25 range. So happy to find that for that price. And this one I was really psyched about. I've seen it a few times, and it's usually marked quite a bit higher. It's X-Men 60. So this is from September of 69. First appearance of Sauron, awesome. It's Neil Adams, cover and art, Roy Thomas story again. And this one, again, fine range, and it was only 25 bucks. And every time I've seen it, it's much higher than that. And I can't remember if this is the last issue before they went to reprints, or maybe it's 61. I could be mixing it up, but this is one of the last original stories, I believe. And then they switched to reprints for the last, right up till, I think, 94. I could be wrong. Someone correct me if I am, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So psyched to find that for 25 bucks. I thought that was a great deal for, again, really nice mid-grade copy. The mid-grade stuff's right in my wheelhouse. It's usually affordable. It looks beautiful. I have a lot of trouble ponying up for, Silver Age stuff in the very fine near mint range. It usually just commands such a premium that I am more than happy to buy stuff in the 6.0 range is perfect for me, at least for now. We'll see what the future brings, but super happy with those pickups. So guys, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, subscribe, leave some comments below, and as always, happy hunting to everyone out there.